I almost threw away a green onion root the same way I'd done 100 times before. Then I stuck it in an old glass of water by the kitchen window instead, mostly out of laziness. 5 days later, I was cutting fresh green shoots off it for eggs. I hadn't paid a cent, I hadn't planted a seed, I just stopped throwing food in the bin. In this video, we're looking at 20 kitchen scraps you should never throw away because they regrow into free food. That single glass of water changed how I look at every vegetable I bring home, because a huge amount of what most of us scrape off the cutting board and toss out isn't waste at all. It's a living plant that's ready to start over in your kitchen, on a windowsill, in a container, or in a small garden. Some of these surprised me when I first tried them, because the piece that looked completely useless was actually still biologically active. So before we get into the 20, I want you to do something for me. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever regrown food from kitchen scraps before, or would this be your very first time trying it? I read every comment, and I genuinely want to know where you're starting from, because it tells me how to make these videos for you. Let's get into it. 1. Green onions. This is the one I always tell people to start with, because it's almost impossible to fail. Keep the white root section about 1 inch and stand it upright in a shallow glass with just enough water to cover the roots. Put it somewhere it gets light. Within days you'll see new green pushing up. And here's the part that surprised me the first time. It's not a one-and-done trick. That little white base still has stored food inside it and an active growth point, so it keeps sending up new shoots again and again. Iowa State points out that green onions can keep producing shoots for months before those reserves finally run out. Months from something you were about to bin. 2. Celery. Don't compost that pale stump at the bottom of the bunch. Sit the base in about 1 inch of water. Cut side up, somewhere bright. In a few days you'll see tiny yellow leaves appearing dead center, and that's the plant waking up. The reason it works is worth understanding, because it's the same reason half this list works. That base still contains living growth tissue, the meristematic tissue, which is the part of the plant that can generate brand new shoots and roots. Most of the celery got eaten. The engine that grows celery is still sitting in your hand. 3. Romaine lettuce. Same idea, and by now you might be seeing the pattern. Keep the bottom crown, sit it in shallow water, give it light, and watch new leaves push up from the middle. This isn't a random collection of unrelated hacks, by the way. Romaine, celery, bok choy, Chinese cabbage, they all regrow from that same basal crown tissue, because underneath they're built the same way. Learn 1, and you've quietly learned 5. 4. Bok choy. Cut it about 2 inches from the base and set the stump in shallow water. New green comes from the center within days, and honestly, it grows fast enough to keep a beginner hooked. This is a great one if you cook a lot of stir-fries and go through it quickly. 5. Napa cabbage. The Chinese cabbage crown behaves exactly like bok choy. Base in water, light, patience. You'll get a flush of tender inner leaves that are perfect for tossing into soups and wraps. Now let me be honest with you about something, because I'd rather you trust me than be impressed by me. These crown scraps are what I'd call cut and come again plants. That celery stump gives you a real edible second harvest. What it usually won't do is turn back into a giant supermarket-sized bunch. The realistic result is a smaller secondary harvest, and that's still free food off something you already paid for. Overselling that is how gardening channels lose people like you. Before we continue, if you want to start growing your own fresh food at home, I've put everything you need into a book, Beginner Hydroponics for Home Gardeners. Save $5,000 a year Growing Food at Home. It's a complete beginner-friendly guide that takes you from total newbie to confident grower. No soil, no yard, and no experience required. Inside you'll find easy step-by-step DIY projects, a simple 30-day plan to your first harvest, troubleshooting cheat sheets, and the exact methods to grow fresh organic herbs and veggies all year round while slashing your grocery bill by thousands. If you want the book, I'll leave the link in the description. I won't mention this again. 6. Leeks. Treat the root end exactly like green onions, just bigger. An inch of white with the roots attached, sitting in shallow water, regrows a usable green top surprisingly fast. If you keep the water clean, it'll keep going for weeks. 7. Garlic. Ever had a clove sprout a little green shoot and assumed it had gone bad? It hasn't. Plant that sprouted clove pointy side up in a small pot of soil and it'll grow garlic greens, which taste like a mild garlic chive and are fantastic snipped over potatoes or eggs. A single forgotten clove earns its keep. 8. Ginger. That knobby piece drying out in your drawer is a plant. Look for the little rounded bumps. Those are growth buds. Lay a chunk with a couple of buds flat on top of soil, barely covered. Keep it warm and lightly moist, and it'll send up a shoot. Ginger takes its time, so this one's for the patient among us. You can harvest little pieces from the edges and leave the rest growing. 9. Turmeric. Turmeric grows from a rhizome the same way ginger does. Same method, same warmth, same patience. If you use a lot of fresh turmeric and hate paying premium prices for a thumb-sized piece, this one genuinely pays you back. We're not even halfway. Which brings me to a question I want you to sit with and answer in the comments. How much food do you think you've thrown in the bin this year that could have regrown? Be honest. I did that math once and it stung. 10. Potatoes. A potato that's grown eyes isn't ruined, it's ready. Cut it into pieces so each piece has an eye or two. Let the cut sides dry for a day, then plant them a few inches deep. Each eye becomes a new plant, and each plant makes more potatoes. But I owe you the truth on this one, because it's the exact spot where a lot of beginners quietly blame themselves. Some potatoes sold in grocery stores have been treated to stop them sprouting while they sit in storage. So if you follow every step perfectly and nothing happens, it might not be your technique at all. It might be the potato. That's not a small detail. That's the difference between thinking you have a black thumb and knowing you just had a treated spud. 11. Sweet potatoes. These regrow through slips, the little green shoots that sprout from the tuber. Rest a sweet potato half in shallow water, or nestle it in moist soil, and in a few weeks, shoots appear. Twist those slips off, root them in water, and plant them out. One sweet potato can give you a whole row of plants. Same warning applies here though. Store-bought sweet potatoes can also be treated to suppress sprouting, so if yours refuses to do anything for weeks, don't take it personally. Try one from a different source before you decide you did it wrong. 12. Carrot tops. I have to be straight with you about this one, because it's probably the most misunderstood scrap on the internet. Sit a carrot top in a little water and yes, you'll get lovely feathery green foliage and it looks fantastic on a windowsill. But that green top does not mean a new orange carrot is forming underneath. It won't. The crown can make leaves and roots, but the carrot itself, that taproot, doesn't just rebuild itself from the discarded top. The good news is, those carrot greens are edible and taste faintly of parsley. Brilliant, chopped into a salad, or blitzed into pesto. So grow it for the greens, and you'll never feel cheated. Grow it expecting a carrot, and you will. 13. Beets. The leafy tops regrow much like carrot greens. Keep the crown, sit it in shallow water, and harvest the tender young beet leaves, which are genuinely delicious, and cook down like chard. Same honest caveat, you're growing the greens here, not a whole new beetroot. 14. Fennel. Save the bulb base with the roots attached and stand it in shallow water. It sends up fresh, feathery fronds you can snip for cooking. If you love that aniseed flavor, this is a lovely little regrow that most people never think to try. 15. Lemongrass. Those woody stalks usually have a bit of root end intact. Stand a few in a glass of water, and they'll root and push new growth in a couple of weeks. Pot them up after that. If you cook Thai or Vietnamese food, having living lemongrass on your patio feels almost too easy. Quick, important truth before we go on, and it explains a mystery a lot of you have probably run into. Water gets these scraps started, but water is not their long-term food. The early burst of growth is powered by the energy already stored in the scrap itself. Once that runs out, the plant needs real growing conditions, soil and nutrients to keep going. That's exactly why a celery base or a lettuce crown looks amazing for a couple of weeks and then just stalls. It didn't fail. It ran out of packed lunch and needed a proper home. Move the strong ones into soil, and they carry on. 16. Basil. Now we're stepping into my favorite category, and it's one kitchen scrap videos barely mention. Herbs. Take a basil cutting a few inches long, strip the lower leaves, and stand the stem in water. Roots appear in a week or two, then you plant it. One supermarket basil plant can become a dozen through cuttings. No seeds, no waiting. 17. Mint. Mint roots from cutting so eagerly it's almost comical. A sprig in a glass of water will root within days. One warning from experience: plant mint in its own pot, never in the ground, or it will try to conquer your entire garden. I learned that the hard way. 18. Cilantro. Coriander stems with a bit of base can be coaxed into rooting in water, and once established, you get a steady supply of the fresh leaves that always seem to go slimy in the fridge before you finish them. Growing it means you cut only what you need. 19. Oregano, rosemary, and thyme. I'm grouping these because they all follow the same cutting method. A healthy stem, lower leaves stripped, rooted in water, or straight into damp soil. This is a whole different lane from regrowing celery and onions, and it's worth saying plainly, you can build an entire windowsill herb garden from cuttings of herbs you already bought to cook with. No seed packet required. 20. Pineapple. I saved this one for last because it's the showstopper, and because it's where I need to protect you from the hype. Twist the leafy crown off the top, peel back a few of the lower leaves, let it dry for a day or two, then root it in water or soil. When it works, it's genuinely spectacular to watch a discarded pineapple top become a real plant. Here's the honest timeline though, the part the flashy videos skip. Rooting a pineapple crown can take 6 to 8 weeks under good conditions. An actual fruit, that can take years. So grow a pineapple for the joy of it, as a gorgeous houseplant with a very long payoff. Just don't grow it expecting dessert by next month. I'd rather you start with clear eyes and stay delighted than start dreaming of fruit and quit in frustration. So there are your 20. And I want to gather a few things together before you go, because the mistakes matter as much as the method. The single biggest error I see, and one I made myself, is drowning the scrap. With these crown-type pieces, celery, lettuce, cabbage. The goal is not to submerge the whole base. Keep only the lower portion sitting in shallow water and change that water regularly. Fresh water every day or two keeps mold and rot from setting in, and stale deep water is what turns a promising regrow into a slimy, smelly mess in the corner of your kitchen. More water is not more growth here. It's more problems. The second thing to hold on to is that distinction between a second harvest and a full replacement. Your scraps are giving you bonus food, a real, edible top-up on groceries you already bought. That's a genuine win, especially with prices the way they are right now. It just isn't a magic vending machine that spits out full-size supermarket vegetables on demand. Expect the honest version and you'll stay in love with this. Expect miracles and you'll feel let down. And the third thing, the one I want you to actually remember, start with one, not all 20. 1. Put a single green onion root in a glass of water tonight and watch what happens over the next few days. That first little success is what makes the rest of this feel possible, because it stops being something you saw online and becomes something you did with your own hands on your own windowsill. That's more than a way to save a bit of money on the shopping. That's a small, steady kind of self-reliance, the comfort of knowing you can grow a little of your own food in the smallest space you've got, using the parts everyone else throws away. And once you start seeing your kitchen scraps this way, you honestly can't unsee it. So let me leave you with one last question, and this is the one I most want you to answer down in the comments. Which of these 20 are you going to try first? Tell me the one you're starting with, so I can cheer you on and come back and tell me how it went. I really do read them all. If this opened your eyes to how much free food you've been binning, do me a quick favor and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who are trying to grow their own food. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're doing videos like this every week. And if you want to go deeper and support the channel directly, tap the join button and become a member. Members get a little closer to the process, and it means the world to a small channel like this one. Now go grab a scrap and a glass of water. Your first free harvest starts today.